Right, so I am getting ready to switch to my more endgame build, which is going to be basically the same, sort of the same, except instead of shadow, we're going to be switching to poison. So before I do that, I wanted to go over my 1 to 50 build here. Honestly, it felt great. I was originally going to go puncture and flurry because I played a lot of that in the betas, and it was great for spreading vulnerability to multiple units and stuff like that. So it was really good for that, but it felt kind of weak in a single target situation, so elites and bosses. And honestly, that's going to be the biggest hurdle I feel in the game once you hit endgame. So I kind of decided to get away from flurry. I still like flurry, but with the twisting blade aspect, blade masters aspect, making these kind of twirl around your character when they return just completely changed it. It fixed my issue of it not having any sort of AoE clearing, and it does that for me now. So we start out with puncture, which I loved playing through the beta. I was always puncture plus flurry for the most part, and puncture is just great. You don't need to level it up at all. You just need that one. Puncture is there to basically apply vulnerability. That's it. That's all. So you're going to take enhanced puncture, gain 2 energy when puncture damages a crowd controlled enemy. It's whatever. It's just a way to get to this. So fundamental puncture. Puncture now throws 3 blades in a spread, each dealing 35 of its base. So yeah, if 2 of those blades hit one target, it makes them vulnerable. So it's vulnerable on demand. It's fantastic. Yeah, I love this. It's great for bosses because you're always up in their face. You're always going to hit something and make it vulnerable. So all you really need to do is put the 3 points up here and you're set. Moving right along to the good stuff, we get to twisting blade. So you impale an enemy with your blades, dealing 72% damage in this case, and making them take 8% increased damage from you while impaled. After 1.5 seconds, the blades return to you, piercing enemies for 115% damage. So they come back from whatever your target is and hit everything along the way. So it's fantastic. That we're going to max out. So right now I have an item that's giving me a little bit more, but we're going to max that out at 5. We move on to enhanced twisting blades. Twisting blades deal 30% increased damage when returning. So just even more damage coming back is great. And then advanced twisting blades. When your twisting blades return, your cooldowns are reduced by 0.25 seconds per enemy pass through. So when you're fighting tons of mobs and stuff, and that comes back through, it's going to hit a whole bunch of stuff and reset your cooldown so you can do it all again. Now, these passives are probably the most important, I feel, especially siphoning strikes, but we'll start off with sturdy here. So each rank just gives you a bit more close range damage reduction. Huge. You're going to be up close all the time. It's fantastic. This is the big one, though. Siphoning strikes. Heal for 3% of your maximum life when you critically strike close enemies. Now, with twisting blades, when it's coming back and it starts doing the orbit and hitting everything around you, and you start getting your crit chance up, you're going to start critting a lot, and you're just going to heal like crazy. Even on single targets, those things are going to orbit and keep hitting that target. It's fantastic. This is what keeps me alive in all my fights. I was commenting earlier that unless it's something crazy like massive hits or massive stuns or whatever that just stops me from doing anything, or massive poison, most fights I go through, I come out with pretty much full health, very close to full health, or just need a little top up, whatever. I barely go through potions. There's so much sustain with this, despite being a very squishy class. Siphoning strikes is amazing. Moving on, we've got shadow step. Shadow step is something you definitely need to have. Mainly because the unstoppable, it gets you out of those stuns. Stuns in this game are very strong against you. There's most of my deaths end up coming from being stunned and just I can't do anything, and I get burn down immediately. So having something to break that and get away from that is huge, and it's just another mobility piece to kind of jump from target to target. We take enhanced shadow step, damaging an enemy, increases your crit chance against them, so great against bosses and stuff, just helps with single target stuff even more. And then enemies damaged by shadow step are stunned for 2 seconds, great against elites. Jump on them, stun them, and then just burn them down. It's great. We've got weapon mastery, so gain a bonus when attacking with a certain weapon type. I have personally been going with swords over daggers. Daggers is nice and all. The damage against healthy targets for that first bit of their health is nice, but I've just felt like with swords, they're not much slower, and just doing more damage for the entire duration of their health bar is more appealing to me. So I've mostly focused on swords myself. Swords with their base stat, we'll go over here real quick. Swords base stat is critical strike damage, so that just buffs that. I believe daggers are damage to close, so also pretty good. But for the most part, I've just gone with swords. It's felt right. And I haven't really switched off of it. So yeah, max this out. And you're kind of fine there. Dash, you take a point into dash, it gives you 2 charges right at the gate. Just more mobility, helps you get away from stuff, helps you reposition. Yeah, I'm probably going to remove this when I get to my end game build. I don't think I'll need it as much, but it's been great for leveling and just being able to move around, and even just moving through the world before you get your horse and stuff, just to go a little bit faster. Dash is nice to have, and it's just 1 point. Moving along, Dark Shroud is pretty important. So you surround yourself with 5 protective shadows, gain 8% damage reduction per active shadow. So again, damage reduction is great, especially because you're fighting close range all the time, so you're going to be taking a lot of hits. It just gives you that extra little protection. Just a point in that. We go into Enhanced Dark Shroud. Shadows have a 10% chance not to be consumed, so that's always nice. And then countering Dark Shadow. While you have at least 4 active shadows from Dark Shroud, gain 8% crit chance. Just more crit chance, more damage. We go back up to Siphoning Strikes. You heal every time you crit something, so the more you crit, the more you heal, the more you stay alive. And then you just pop this every time you need to keep those shadows up. They can disappear pretty quick because you only get 5. As soon as you get hit twice, that's gone. So you got to kind of keep that procced, but it's not too bad. Passive wise, we go with Exploit, 18% increased damage to healthy and injured enemies. So anything, I think it's above 20% or below 30%, you're doing more damage to. More damage is always nice. This one's pretty big too. Malice, you deal increased damage to vulnerable to enemies. You're going to be making things vulnerable a lot, especially when we get into the shadow stuff. So more vulnerable damage is always nice. Speaking of which, moving on to Shadow Imbuement. A lot of people know about Shadow Imbuement. Imbues your weapons with shadow, and then when you hit something, it's going to they're going to fester with the shadow, and then after a certain amount of time they explode and deal damage, or when you kill them they explode and deal damage. And then we get into stuff like Enhanced Shadow Imbuement, 15% crit against injured enemies affected by shadow. So again, we go back to the Siphoning Strikes, just more ways for crit chance, increased crit chance, and more healing. And then Blended Shadow Imbuement. Shadow Imbuement's primary explosion makes enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. So again, you make things vulnerable, you kill them, they explode, make everything around them vulnerable, and if those don't die, you kill them, they blow up, and just kind of spread it. So it's definitely the way to go in terms of getting yourself some vulnerability spread everywhere and just blowing everything up. Where you walk into crowds and things just explode. Usually we'll pop it and then dash through a group of mobs, apply the shadow to them all, and then just kill them and blow everything else up that doesn't get hit by it initially. So we max that out at 5. We're gonna get to the point at the end here where it kind of doesn't matter what order you put things in. Just kind of go with what you feel, what's gonna work for you. If you need more tankiness, I still think these two are probably pretty priority, but everywhere else A lot of these passives and stuff are mostly just convenient stuff. They just make things a little more convenient. Where did my stuff go? Okay. Yeah. Anyway, moving right along. Precision imbuement, imbued skills gain 9% increased crit chance. Again, now whenever you apply this, you're gonna have even more crit chance. Again, we go back to the siphoning strikes. More crit chance, more heals, always good. Moving on down here, again, we start getting into the passives. Most of these are a little more, again, they're just quality of life stuff. They just convenience you and make things a little bit nicer to go around. So lucky hit stuff. A lot of people don't like lucky hit, but twisting blades actually has a pretty decent lucky hit chance. And when you get that aspect where you start orbiting them, that's more hits, more chance to proc lucky hit. And my shadow step has 100% lucky hit chance, so there's that as well. But yeah, lucky hit up to a 30% chance to gain 8 energy. Early on, it is hard to keep your energy going, especially until you get inner sight. Inner sight, obviously, once you get that going, you don't run out of energy. But when that's not procced, it's nice to have that energy regen. Non-physical damage you deal has a 5% chance, increased lucky hit chance. This is kind of just whatever. I just put a point in there to have a little bit. And then second win, every 100 energy you spend grants you 10% increased lucky hit chance for 5 seconds. Again, lucky hit chance is always nice, helps with stuff like this to get you that energy regen. And whenever you spend 100 energy, especially with inner sight, I'm pretty sure that it doesn't actually use that energy. It's spending the 100 energy, but you're not actually using it from your bar. So you have a lot easier time proccing this, especially while inner sight's going. Just a couple points there. I might put some more later. I haven't used all my points. I haven't gotten all the extra passive points yet, so I might put some here and there, but for now, just 2 points there. Moving down this way, we got Adrenaline Rush. While moving, you gain 5% increased energy restoration, again, or regeneration. Again, just more ways to get energy early on before you start getting into the kind of end game builds is nice. Impetuous, where are we? After moving 15 meters, your next attack deals 21% increased damage. You're always moving. Yeah, more damage when you're moving. While at or above 50% max energy, gain 15% movement speed. So when you're full energy, you run around faster. Nice between fights, trying to get to the next fight, you just run faster. And then while below 50% max energy, gain 15% increased attack speed. So as you're using your energy in combat, you're just going to attack faster. So always nice as well. And then lastly, we come to Victimize as our key passive. I don't really have any interest in any of the other ones. This is more traps. This is more range stuff. This is close quarters. Yeah, I don't know. Well, both attack. We are using a marksman and a cutthroat skill. And each grant damaging a close enemy with marksman or cutthroat. Grant a 10% attack speed bonus for 8 seconds. While both are active, you deal 20% increased damage against crowd-controlled enemies. That's the problem. I don't really crowd control. I think my puncture applies a slow, but we don't massively apply crowd control, so it's really not that great. But I haven't tried it yet. I might have to try it at some point. But yeah, I kind of went with Victimize. Again, lucky hit stuff. We have a lot of chance to do that. Dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has up to a 30% chance to cause an explosion, dealing 23% of the original damage to them and surrounding enemies. There's an aspect as well. I forget the name right now. I have it somewhere. We also have the ability to have that explosion heal us as well, which again just helps with our durability and survivability, which is really nice. So I've been enjoying this so far. Yeah, we always have something vulnerable to hit, so those extra explosions, and I'm pretty sure yeah, so they hit themselves, so they explode, dealing damage to themselves and other things. So even against single targets, it's still pretty solid. just a little bit of extra damage. So yeah, again, I've only got 6 of the 10 bonus skill points from doing renown stuff. If I were to get some more, you could even go into the shadow stuff here. Shadow crash, more lucky hit stuff. Shadow damage has a 10% chance to stun. Don't really care too much about that. If you're struggling with energy, each time you kill an enemy with shadow damage, you generate 10 energy. So when you're doing those big explosions and killing everything around you, good chance to get a lot of energy back, and just be ready to go for the next fight. But yeah, honestly, just kind of build it the way you want. Aside from these two up here, I think these are priority to get maxed out. I mostly just went along grabbing my 1 point here, 1 point there, making sure when I could to get my main abilities online and maxed out. And then from there, I just put points where I felt I needed it. If I felt like I needed the movement speed or the attack speed, I'd put a little bit more into there or whatever. Just kind of go with it as you play and see what feels good for you. There's really no wrong way to do it. Just with the base stuff, it's a really strong build, I feel. Mainly getting that Blade Masters aspect. So I can't really show you all of them because I've been swapping around different aspects and stuff, but the main one here is Blade Dancer's aspect. Twisting Blades orbit for a short time after they return to you, dealing 10% of Twisting Blades return damage per hit. Based on the distance the blades return, the orbit damage increases up to 20% of the return damage. So this is solid. Again, they spin around, hit everything, and just do extra damage, and it gives you the AoE you kind of need in this build to deal with just basic trash mob stuff. But you can get that. You basically have to progress the story through Skazglen, and then you go to Jala's Vigil, which I'll actually pop up here real quick just so you guys know where it is. I believe it is way back here. Yeah, Jala's Vigil. So way up in the top corner of the map. You'll progress through the story. Once you're down in this area, you'll know you're kind of getting there. And as you progress through, I think you clear some stuff here so you can actually pass through. And then you can do Jala's Vigil. So that's the thing is with this build, starting off before I got to that point, I definitely felt a little bit weaker. Things weren't dying quite as quickly as I'd like. I was playing with a friend, so the extra health on mobs might have been an issue there. But I definitely felt a little weaker at first until I got the Blade Dancers aspect, and that was huge. That kind of changed everything, and that kind of took the build off for me. That was the one main aspect we wanted to get, and that really helped. Now a suggestion with that aspect. So as a melee rogue, you're never going to use your bow. So as you're leveling, you're going through gear quite a bit, swapping basically every time you get a new weapon, you're kind of looking to see if you can swap immediately. The thing is with bows, you're never going to touch them, but you're still going to get the stat benefits. So this has, for example, 26% crit strike damage. I'm never going to pull out the bow, but I'm still going to get that bonus. So just having a bow with decent perks on it, decent affixes on it is good. And it's going to help you. So you can leave this at level 1, for example, and throw your Blade Dancer aspect on it and basically never have to swap it out. Because if you're constantly swapping out your bow and putting that on there, you're going to have to pay to apply it every time. Not that it costs that much, but it does eventually add up. So if you just get a decent bow with some decent affixes on it and keep that in there, you're not going to get affected by the damage, right? This thing could have 1 damage per second, but it doesn't matter because you're using your swords. So I thought that was a good thing to have just in your back pocket to keep you can switch it out every once in a while, because obviously the affix rolls are going to get better as you get higher item power. But you really don't have to replace it too often, and you can just save yourself some money that way. But yeah, I would use your bow for that, and just always make sure you have that blade dancers aspect whenever you can. The other thing is always go for crossbows, in my opinion, just because, again, you are able to take advantage of some of these affixes, and the main affix on crossbows is the vulnerable damage. And you are going to be making things vulnerable, so that extra percentage damage to vulnerable stuff is just fantastic. I think bows are usually like damage to things at range, and it just ends up being a useless stat. So I would probably say it's best in slot for a melee rogue is to have a crossbow in there. And then lastly, what else we got here? Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Just make sure you got a crossbow, a decent crossbow with decent affixes. Throw your blade dancer aspect on there, and really the rest of the aspects don't matter too much. That was the big one for me. The rest is all basically your abilities. All your skill points are what is going to help you through the early game and through into the 50s and stuff like that. I'm at 57 now, and I've basically been using the same thing the whole time, and just throwing different aspects here and there. A few I would suggest, we'll jump into this window here. We might not be able to see all of them. But yeah, most of the aspects I used were ones that came from dungeons. I didn't really do too much extracting and applying of aspects while I was going through. Basically just use whatever came up. One that I would suggest is potentially Edge Masters. So skills deal up to 10% increased damage based on your available primary resource when cast, receiving the maximum benefit while you have full primary resource. This is really good with Inner Sight. So when Inner Sight procs, you're always going to be full on your resource. So you're always going to be getting that extra damage. The maximum extra damage when you have Inner Sight active. And then the rest of the time, you're just getting a decent little bit of damage. So I like that one. Another one was Aspect of the Expectant. Let me see if it's in here. Where are you? There we go. Attacking enemies with your basic, which in this case is Puncture, increases the damage of your next core skill, which is Twisting Blades, cast by 5% up to 30%. So if you attack a bunch with your basic skill, your Puncture, it's usually pretty quick. You can get a whole bunch of them off, and then you just spam a bunch of punctures, and you're gonna get that extra damage on those. So you can kind of rotate between the two, and just get a whole bunch of extra damage for your Twisting Blades, which is your main source of damage. So that's kind of nice. Rapid aspect, I think I just saw that up here. Right there. Basic skills gain 15% attack speed. So again, kind of goes back to this one again. So your Puncture, if you have extra attack speed on it, you're going to be able to get them off quicker, and then switch over to your Twisting Blades to take advantage of that bonus. So again, it's kind of alternating. You left click a whole bunch, and then right click, left click a whole bunch, right click, and you just keep kind of going that way. Those are really the only aspects I would really suggest. Everything else is just what you feel. If you feel like you're getting stunned a lot, you can go find something like, I don't even know if I have it. I don't think I even have it. I forget what it's called actually. But there's one where are you? I actually don't know what it's called. I forget, but I believe it is over here. I should have it. I'm pretty sure I got it. In Caldera's Gate here in, what is it? Fractured Peaks. If you go over there, it's basically when you are stunned or CC'd in general, and you get into the injured state, which is sub 30% health, you become unstoppable, which breaks you out of any CC. And it saved me a ton of times, mainly in hardcore, but it's just solid if you're getting sick of getting stunned and killed that way. Super good there. Yeah, there's so many different aspects you could go with, whether it's defensive or offensive or whatever. Lots of different stuff to pick from. Really nothing is set in stone. Kind of just do what you need. That's basically what I did, and it's felt really good this entire time. But yeah, again, that's really it. There's not too much else to it. I've mainly been focusing on emeralds in my weapons for the critical strike damage against vulnerable. Again, you're making stuff vulnerable all the time, so a little bit extra crit strike damage against them is nice. We've got the rubies in our armor for max life, and then diamonds in our jewelry for the all resistances. So that's basically it for that, and yeah, that's really it. Again, I'm about to, again, specialization, I talked about it a lot. Inner sight, I don't really see a point for the other ones. I think I heard they nerfed inner sight, but I haven't felt any nerf. It still felt great, so that would be my suggestion for specialization. So I've been running Nightmare Dungeons. I don't know all the info yet. Like, I don't know if tier 4 equals level 70 or whatever. So I've just been running these. I've done up to tier 6 so far, and everything's felt pretty good. So we'll go do a quick Nightmare Dungeon just so you can kind of see the build in action. If you don't care and you just want the build, well, there's the end of that. But we'll do a quick run just to tack it on to the end here. Man, it's so hard doing these all in one take, trying to remember everything. Let's do Mallwood. I guess that's here, right? Is that in? Yeah, right here. We'll go do this one quick, just so you can kind of see. Yeah, really, I just make sure I've always got my my Dark Shroud up for my crit strike and my damage reduction, and then I just dash around making things vulnerable and killing everything with twisting blades, and it feels really good. But yeah, I think I am going, even on bosses right now, I feel pretty good, but I think I'm going to go ahead and switch after this video to more of a poison based build and see how that goes. Just because I think it would melt bosses even quicker. Not that I have any issue with that right now. This one might not have a boss, so this might not be a good example, but you'll see on the elites and stuff. My one concern with poison is I'm not sure how it's going to play against like trash mobs, because right now I have pretty good ad clear with my shadow imbuement. Because see, I'm just like, anytime I have the energy to get my twisting blades going. The thing with twisting blades is you do have to kind of get it going. So I have to stab them in, then wait, and then they start spinning. So you want to get that going pretty quick when you get into a fight, and just kind of keep those blades going.
I need more time.
So you're actually doing damage. So it takes a second to start up, and then everything just melts as those blades start orbiting around you.
I need time to do that.
So I mean, you can see everything just blowing up because of the shadow imbuement. I do wonder, like I said, once I don't have that and I'm using poison, if I'm still going to be able to deal with mobs as much.
I need more time.
Or as well.
I need more time.
And then on bosses and stuff, once your inner sight pops, you can just kind of sit on them and spam your right click and just get a ton of blades circling around, dealing a ton of damage. So again, you can kind of see we're usually pretty healthy. We don't really need to heal too often. I usually just grab, if I see a potion around, I just top up.
I need more time.
But you usually don't need it. Again, siphoning strikes is just amazing for keeping you going.
I need more time.
Poison, which these guys kind of throw at me a little bit. Those are probably my biggest threat. I guess these guys aren't really poison. They're just explodey. Wait, just jump onto an elite and stun them, and they're usually... Ooh, I wasn't paying attention there. Usually they are pretty close to dead before they even get out of that stun.
I need more time. I need more time.
These guys are probably what hit me so hard in that last little bit there. They always kind of hit hard, the big guys. As long as I have mobs around me to hit, my sustain usually keeps me going through pretty much anything.
I need more time.
Again, except for maybe poison. That's probably my biggest issue.
I need more time.
Fire's kind of nasty too. But you see how much sustain I have? I heal through pretty much everything. These kind of suck too. Can be a little slow on the startup when you're just coming into a new fight, trying to get the twisting blades going. Usually it's not too bad.
I need more time. I need more time.
Yeah, the waiting for them to come back and start orbiting is usually the main thing. Where's this guy? Kind of see before he really gets to do anything, he's dead. And I'm honestly, most of the time, I'm just kind of rocking back and forth between left click, right click. If I have a lot of energy, a little more heavy on the right clicks, but mostly just kind of walking back and forth on the left and right click. And that's really all there is to it.
I need more time.
I think this is the one where I have to kill the shadow or the bone piles or whatever. I don't think there's actually a boss in this one. There, and every time you're kind of walking around, you notice you don't have your shadow orbs going. Just pop that. Make sure they're always active going into fights.
I'm not ready yet.
So again, I can kind of sit in this group here and mostly sustain. I'm stunned right now. a little hairy there. Oh, it's the smoke. I think it stops my abilities actually. So don't just sit in the smoke. That would be not good. You can't do the things that keep you alive. Yeah, these bone piles.
I need more time. I need time to do that.
I won't grab this shrine just because that'll kind of water down the build a bit and not really give a full view of it.
I need more time. I need time to do that.
So again, you can see I'm full health. Full health pretty much at the end of most fights, partially because everything just dies so quick it doesn't really get a chance to do much damage to me, but also just the sustain is
I'm not ready yet.
fantastic. You can obviously supplement that with different affixes on your gear and stuff, but honestly you'll kind of figure it out as you're playing what you like in terms of affixes. Like I usually go for close, damage to close, or damage to vulnerable, pure damage. What else?
I need more time.
Those are the main ones, I think. But you'll kind of figure out your own ideals for what stats and stuff you want as you go. There you go. Yeah, I'm really liking this build so far. Like I said, I am going to switch it up despite liking it. It's mostly going to stay the same. We're probably going to switch out Dash for the Shadow Clone ultimate. There's some really cool aspects to make your Shadow Clones really strong. So we're going to try that out just for a little bit extra damage. And I'm really curious to see how Poison's going to do in place of Shadow. I think it's going to be better against bosses. I'm not sure how it's going to be against mobs, like big groups of mobs. That's my only concern, but I'm going to try it. I want to try it now because I think once I hit 60, I'm going to try the next capstone to try and get to World Tier 4. So I want to get an idea and a handle on the Poison build before I do that. So I'm going to start working on that now, but there you go. Hopefully you are kind of set on your path. I've been loving the game. I'm having a blast. I'm going to keep going. Yeah. Thanks for watching.